A slip stitch is a great stitch for closing a fully lined garment by hand. I'll begin by threading my needle with only one piece of thread and tying a knot on the other end. Next, because I can't get inside the garment if this were a fully lined garment, I'm going to secure my knot a little bit inside the seam allowance and a little bit further away from my starting point, and this way I can use just a long baste to position my needle right back at the beginning of the opening that I'm trying to close by hand. And now I can begin my slip stitch, which is just going under one piece of fabric about 1/8 of an inch and then coming directly up into the upper piece of fabric and going over again about 1/8 of an inch. A very small tight stitch. And where the thread is coming out of one fabric, you want to enter the next piece of fabric right at that point to minimize the amount of visibility of the thread that's showing. And you'll just continue this stitch on, trying to keep your stitch length consistent and minimize the thread visibility from the outside. You're seeing this garment now how it would appear. So we're looking at the face of the fabric here. Another good reason to use a single piece of thread, because you can see all of these pesky little fly knots that I'm getting, and having a single piece of thread helps minimize the possibility that those knots will stick, make them a lot easier to untie and untangle. And then as I get towards the end of my opening, it's ready to close off. So I'll tie a knot on the end and hide the tail of my thread inside the seam allowance. And here you can see that stitch from the inside of the garment. So I've got about 1/8 of an inch stitches all the way down and a nice secured stitch from the face.